it's not just the stuff that they teach you. It's not just like sitting there in class and having them tell you stuff, and then you learn it, and you tell it to them, and then they like give you a grade, and then you pass the class and like move on. That's not all it is. You know, there's also like, being in the classroom. I know a lot of people do stuff online these days. I don't like being online that much for school. You know, I kind of like just sort of being in the classroom. But if I have to go to school, you know, I mean, yeah, it's work. It's hard, you know, but there's something to be said. I don't know, it's like so many things to it that are important. The way that people interact with each other in a classroom is kind of not like where they interact with each other anywhere else. It really is about ideas and arguing your point and listening to other people, and having them listen to you and having them say, okay, well, what you say, this part of what you say makes sense and this part of it I don't understand, you know, and asking questions and that kind of thing. There's also, you know, the work that you do, like when you study, when you're away from the classroom, you know, look at the studying part and what that trains you to do with your brain, doing projects. I never liked writing research papers. It was the hardest thing for me was writing research papers. But everything else, you know, if I just put the effort into it, I can mostly pretty much get it done. Some subjects were better for me than others, but it trains your brain to do stuff, you know. And then you also get a sense of like satisfaction from it. Like you know when someone walks up to you and says you're dumb, that the person's wrong. You know what I mean? You don't have to like look to see how important that person is to figure out whether or not they're right. He or she is right when he or she says, oh, you're dumb, because you know that you're not, because you've done all this stuff. You have these hours and hours and hours of being in a classroom and doing stuff, you know, and getting things wrong and getting them right and figuring out how to get them right. More often you get them wrong. And it's just, I mean, like when people try to make you seem like this like moron, you know, this moron who's been in a bunch of like dirty movies. It's like, you know what I mean? I mean, it's like I never consented to any of that, and at no time ever do they convince me that I'm a moron, ever. You know what I mean? I am never confused about that. I make mistakes like everybody else. You know, I get stuff wrong, but then I try to take responsibility for that and move on to the next thing. And at no time ever do I think I'm stupid. I just never think that. You know, I have years and years and years of training to help me. Oh, it's 320163. Yeah, this creep. Wasn't there something like that this morning? I believe there was. Yeah. Anyway, as much as the conglomerate tries to make it seem to the entire world that I'm nothing more than a bunch of like dirty movies, and of course it downplays the fact that these were all, you know, totally involuntary and nothing I had any control over, at no time ever does it convince me that's all I am. Right? And that's important. You can get that from work to a certain extent, except work is, you're still, most of the time, unless you're the one who's sort of like the manager or the boss or whatever it is, which is kind of tough to be able to get to be, just kind of like out of nowhere, you're still doing what somebody else tells you to do, you know, and not necessarily in a way that, you know, makes you smarter or gives you confidence in your own intellectual abilities, right? So that's really important. And you also learn how to think about things so that you can judge them on their merits. Like, yes, you know, this makes sense. No, that doesn't make any sense. You know, you can take a new idea that is presented to you by somebody, and you can be like, all right, well, what do I think of this idea? Does it make any sense at all? Does it make any sense, you know, when I check it against the facts that I learned about, you know, the same thing or something similar, you know, when I was in school, or I'm in school now, or if it doesn't, can I at least find something about it and the way that the whole thing is set up, that I can, you know, judge it as being, you know, something that makes sense or doesn't make sense because of other things that I have studied. I mean, that's the thing. It is not just about, you know, somebody like putting like a DVD in your brain, you know, or like just sort of like you know, putting information into your brain. That's not what it is. I mean, yeah, to a certain extent you have to learn stuff, but that definitely is just like one part of school, you know, and one part of what makes school, you know, important for people. And the entire entertainment industry is a total meltdown. Like it's just an unbelievable meltdown of stupidity. It really is. And I have noticed this because it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And actually, unfortunately, I think a number of related industries are the same way. You know, marketing, politics to a certain extent. You know, because you know it's like what are kind of qualifications do you actually need to go into politics? You know, it seems like there are a number of people in politics who there's lots of stuff they don't know anything about, you know, or their education is from a long time ago, you know, and they're just not up to date on all sorts of things. Media, I think a lot of time, you don't really have to like actually know that much about the world. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people who are working in the media just don't know that much. Corporations, same thing, you know. It's really sad. It's really sad. You know, not only have they hurt me just immeasurably, but they're doing so much damage, and they just never get it. They just have that same stupid grin on their face the entire time, you know, because they don't even know how ignorant they are, and it's like endemic to like all of these places, all of these industries. You know, it's just all around the world. It's just horrible.